Yes.
What's your best time?
Cycling, please welcome Rodney Alcala. Rod, welcome.
Come on, over here.
Rodney James Alcala is a serial killer, nicknamed the Dating Game Killer, born in San Antonio on August 23, 1943. Serial killer Rodney Alcala posed as a photographer to potential victims and filmed girls shortly before raping and strangling them. In 1979, police discovered an archive where the perpetrator kept more than 1,000 pictures. 30 years later, some of them were published. A former film student of director Roman Polanski at New York University, a charming photographer with long curls and a wide smile, Rodney Alcala liked girls. He liked them too, in his own way. He would start an acquaintance with an offer to take a picture, and when he was alone with a girl, he would rape and strangle her until she passed out, wait for her to come to her senses, and then torture her again until she died. Alcala was proven to have committed 7 brutal murders in several U.S. states in the 70s. 23-year-old flight attendant Cornelia Krillilevana raped and strangled in 1971 in her own Manhattan apartment. Jane Hover, 23, daughter of the founder of the popular Hollywood nightclub Ciro's, disappeared in the summer of 1977 when she went to lunch with a photographer. Her remains would be found 11 months later. Jill Barkham, 18, found curled up on a cliff off Mulholland Highway in 1977. 27-year-old nurse Georgia Wixt, beaten to death in her Malibu home that same year. Robin Samso, 12, approached by a stranger on her way to ballet school in Huntington Beach with an offer to take her picture, found in 1980 in the foothills of Los Angeles. Charlotte Lamb, 32, whom Alcala raped and strangled with a shoelace in the laundry room of a large apartment complex in El Segundo. Jill Parenteau, 21, of Los Angeles, whom the killer broke in through a window. Police believe the actual number of his victims could be much higher. While investigating Robin Samso's murder, officers found a photo archive of more than 1,000 images of several boys and many girls and women between the ages of 8 and 30. A string of trials followed. In 1980, 1986, 2010, each time Alcala was found guilty and sentenced to death. Each time the defendant appealed and won. In between, new murders surfaced, and DNA tests linked the defendant to another victim. In 2010, he was convicted of 5 murders in California State Court and again received the death penalty, which he also intends to appeal. During the trial, the Huntington Beach Police Department released 120 images from the photo archive of the Maniac and called for responses from those who know anything about the fate of the girls in the pictures. So far, only 20 of them have been found. In 2013, a New York court sentenced Rodney Alcala to 25 years in prison for the murders of Cornelia Crilly and Jane Hover. Even if he again manages to reject the charges of the California court, the 73-year-old maniac will have to serve his sentence in a New York prison. He committed the crime in 1968. He drove his car up to 8-year-old Tali Shapiro. He introduced himself as a friend of her family and offered her a ride, which she accepted. This scene was witnessed by an eyewitness. Suspecting trouble, he called the police, who were able to track down Rodney. The police broke into his apartment and rescued the girl, who had already been raped. Rodney himself managed to escape, but the police were able to find documents proving Rodney's identity. Rodney was put on the wanted list. Rodney then settled in New York City, where he began living under the assumed name John Berger. He enrolled at New York University and in 1971 took a job at a children's art camp in New Hampshire. In early 1971, the FBI became involved in the search for Rodney, and he became the first on the list of most wanted suspects. A few months later, Rodney was caught. 2 children attending an art camp noticed a wanted poster and recognized Rodney in it. They immediately reported it to the police. After his arrest, Rodney was extradited to California. However, the Shapiro family was living in Mexico by then, and did not want their daughter to testify in court. Because of this, the police were unable to charge Rodney with attempted murder and rape of a child. Rodney was offered a deal. He had to plead guilty to assaulting a child, a lighter crime. He accepted, for which he received an indeterminate sentence of 1 year to life, but was released after 34 months in 1974. On July 20th, 1979, he saw Robin Samsoe approached her and her friends and asked to take a picture. This scene was observed by a witness who scared Rodney away. Afterward, Robin, along with her friend Bridget, went to Bridget's house. Bridget lent Robin her bicycle. Robin rode it to her ballet class. Rodney was able to track down the girl and kill her that same day. He dumped her body in the mountains of Los Angeles, which was found 12 days later. After her disappearance, her friends told the police everything. They were able to describe Rodney, and a sketch was drawn up in which a parole officer recognized Rodney. The police searched Rodney's mother's house, in which they found a receipt for a rental locker. The police were able to locate this locker, which turned out to contain Robin's earrings. Rodney was then arrested and held without bail. A trial was held in 1980. He was sentenced to death for the murder of the girl, but the conviction was overturned by the California Supreme Court due to improperly informing the jury of Rodney's previous crimes. A second trial was held in 1986. He was again sentenced to death, but the appeals court overturned the conviction because a witness who supported Rodney's claim that the man who found the body had been hypnotized by the police did not show up at the trial. The third trial took place in 2010. Rodney decided to defend himself. For 5 hours, he acted as a witness and interrogator, asking himself questions in different voices and speaking in the third person. He convinced the jury that he was elsewhere at the time of Robin's abduction, and that the earrings found in his locker belonged to him, not her. He did not contest the charges of the other 4 murders, but said he did not remember them. As his main argument, he performed Arlo Guthrie's song Alice's Restaurant, in which the main character tells a psychiatrist that he is going to kill Tali Shapiro, Rodney's first victim, came to this trial. It was unexpected for Rodney, and he apologized to Tali for raping her. 2 days later, a jury found Rodney guilty of 5 murders. In March 2010, he was sentenced to death for the 3rd time. Rodney was originally transferred to San Quentin Death Row Prison. In January 2011, a Manhattan grand jury indicted Rodney for 2 murders: Corneli Crilly, 1971, and Ellen Hover, 1977. He was extradited to New York in June 2012 and pleaded not guilty to the 2 murders. However, he pleaded guilty in December 2012 to return to California to appeal his death sentence. On January 7, 2013, he was sentenced to 25 years. Until his death, Rodney served his sentence in Corcoran Prison, California. Rodney Alcala died of natural causes on July 24, 2021, at a hospital near Corcoran Prison at the age of 77 after spending 42 years in prison. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos.